Over the last few years, I have met hundreds of people ranging from 15-year-old kids to 50-year-old CEOs of billion-dollar companies. Yes, billion with a B. And in all of these interactions, my number one takeaway has been that the first impression is the most important. And chances are, if you've clicked on this video, you also realize how important that first impression is. That is oftentimes what most people struggle with. In all of the interactions that I've had over the past few years, I've had some not so great experiences where things didn't quite go as I wanted them to go, and over time I worked on them, I improved, I did what was working for me, I dropped what was not, and I've developed a small formula that works for me in any social interaction. And I want to share that with you because I know that a lot of people struggle with the first interaction, with the first impression. And if you implement these things in your interactions, I can guarantee that you will immediately see a better first impression, because that is often what will define how people perceive you, right? So there are three things that I want to talk about today. That if you start implementing, you will see a difference, you will see an improvement in how people rate that first interaction with you. Number one is owning your energy in the first interaction, right? Now, and when I say energy, I mean three things. First thing is your body language. When you're meeting someone for the first time, maybe someone is introducing you or you've gone up and spoken to them, you want to have a very open body language, right? A lot of people, when they're short on confidence or when they don't quite feel like they belong there, or maybe they're just scared, right? Not all social interactions are easy. They shrivel up, right? They close their shoulders, they have their hands tied like this, or they'll have their arms crossed. You don't want to do that. You want to keep your body as open as possible. You want to keep your shoulders wide, nice and normal, and you want to own your space. Then when you're going in and when you're meeting them or when you're introducing yourself, you want to look them dead in the eye. This is another mistake that a lot of people make, is when you're meeting someone, your eye contact keeps wavering, you keep looking around, you keep looking down. You don't want to do any of that. You want to look them dead in the eye, maybe smile just a little bit, and then put your hand forward for the handshake. Now the handshake is another important part. Most people have loose handshakes, or they'll do this. You don't want to do that. Regardless of if you're a guy or a girl, you want to extend a very firm hand, and then once you have their hand, you don't want to crush their hand, but you want to have a firm handshake while you're looking them dead in the eye with maybe a slight smile on your face, right? As soon as you do this, the impression that the other person gets of you is of someone that is confident in where they are and is confident in who they are, right? You are owning your space, you are owning your energy. And when you have, let's say, a loose handshake, or you're not maintaining eye contact, or you don't have great body language, what the other person, especially if it's a smart person, what they will feel is that, oh, maybe this person is not confident enough, or maybe they're not comfortable in where they are, or maybe they're not enjoying themselves, right? And you don't want to give that impression. You want to make sure that the other person, the first time that they're seeing you and they're meeting you, they take away that, oh, this is a confident guy, or this is a confident girl, or you just want to give that positive impact. And for that to happen, you have to own your body language. You want to keep it very relaxed, wide, not shrivel up. You want to look them dead in the eye when you are talking to them, and then have a firm handshake. Right? Do these three things, immediately you leave, you're introducing yourself in a much better frame. That was number one, own your energy. Energy includes your body language, your eye contact, and your handshake, right? Moving on to number two. Before I move on to number two, I just want to tell you that I've just launched a brand new course on communication. It is called Communication Powerhouse. If you're someone who wants to master communication, which I highly recommend you do, it is on pre-sale right now. The link is in the description. Check it out while you can. It is at a 50% discount, where I guarantee you will improve your communication once you take the course. You will be much more confident in whatever it is that you're doing, and people will start perceiving you in a very different light. So the link is in the description. Check that out while you still can. Now, number two is a very interesting technique that I use when I'm meeting people for the first time, and it goes a long way. So this technique originally was used by salespeople when they met someone for the first time in order to make a strong first impression. It is called mirroring, right? And it's a very subtle psychological technique where you want to mirror the actions, the tone, and the energy of the other person. Right? Now, you have to make sure that you do this very subtly. This should not seem very obvious, but this works on a rule in psychology which says that people like people that are more like them. right? So if I see someone that is more like me, that looks like me, that talks like me, that behaves like me, I am more likely to enjoy interacting with them, and I'm more likely to like them as a person. So here's how you do it, right? Let's say you're meeting someone for the first time, and you've introduced yourself, you've gone through the greetings. You want to start very subtly mimicking their behavior, their words, their body language, and their energy, right? Now there's a very thin line between where this is subtle and where this is not so subtle. You want to make sure that it's subtle. So let's say someone's standing there, they're standing and they're talking with their hands crossed like this, right? What you want to do is you want to talk to them, you want to look them in the eye, and very gradually also cross your hands while you're talking. To do this in a way that they don't notice it. If someone is sitting with one leg on top of the other, you want to keep talking to them and very gradually have one leg on top of the other in a way that they don't notice it, right? You want to mimic their body language. If they're talking with their elbows on the table and they're leaning in, you want to do the same. You want to keep it subtle. That is their direct actions that you're trying to mimic. Then you try to mimic their speech or the words that they use. So everyone has a speech pattern. There are certain words that people tend to overuse, right? So you want to pick these words up, and then you want to use them when you're talking as well. You want to talk in a way where it feels similar to how they were talking. This should not feel like you're mocking them. Beware, there's a very thin line, but if you do it gracefully and if you practice it properly, then there comes a point where you very naturally start to talk like someone else, so that they feel at home and they feel more comfortable with how you're talking, right? And then lastly, you want to mimic their energy, right? So when someone stops talking, if they are very enthusiastic, if they're using a very high pitched tonality, you want to try and match their energy in the room as well, right? If they're using their hands a lot, you also want to talk and you want to use their hands a lot. You want to match everything that they're doing. When you do this subtly and when you do this in a way that's not very noticeable, people pick up these subconscious signs, and you position yourself as someone who's very similar to them, right? I've used this in all of my meetings over the last few years, in all of my interactions, and I can guarantee you it works to a T, right? Every time I do this, people like me more than when I did not used to do this, and I leave a very strong first impression. Most people end up, let's say I'm meeting with a client and I'm using this technique, I'm mirroring them constantly, chances of me closing that deal go up significantly. If I'm meeting someone for the first time in a social interaction, I'm trying to be friends with them, I start mirroring them. Like they just like me off the bat, right? This feels like a hack, and once you start using it, you will notice how strong and powerful technique this is. But I highly recommend that you take time to practice and start using it gradually, so that it doesn't seem very artificial, so that it doesn't seem plastic. You want to make it seem as natural as possible. This was number 2. And lastly, we have technique number 3, which is listen, comment, and ask, right? Now this is not a rule, right? But this is generally how I lead any social interaction, and I recommend you try this out for yourself, and you will see how well this works. Is when you're meeting someone for the first time, you want to show them that you are a great listener, right? That you are paying attention to what they are saying, and that makes them feel like you are someone that they can trust, right? How you do this is when you are conversing with them, firstly you want to remember their name, right? Every time, do not forget someone's name. If someone tells you their name, the first time, make sure you're remembering their name, and you bring it up at a later point. So listen very carefully to what they're saying. Be all ears on the conversation. Now, once they've finished talking, then you want to make a very subtle, intelligent comment on what they just said, right? This does not have to sound very artificial, but let's say I'm meeting someone in a very casual social setting. They were talking about their favorite coffee shop, for example, right? You want to listen intently. Let's say their name is Max, right? And Max is telling me about his favorite coffee shop. I listen to him very intently, and then I use his first name. I say, Max, that's wonderful. I comment on what they just said, or oh, Max, that's very interesting, right? I drop a very short comment on what they just said. And again, this can be used in a professional setting as well, right? If you're meeting a client, or if you're meeting, let's say, someone in a professional setting, you can do this exact same thing, but just the tonality will be different. So if I'm talking to Max and Max is talking, I'll say, oh, Max, that's wonderful, and then I will follow up with a very intelligent question, right? Now, again, you don't have to ask the question for the sake of asking a question, but if you listen to them and if you're curious enough, a couple of questions will naturally pop up, right? And this will help you further the interaction, and this will also help the other person feel like, oh, they've been listening to me and they're actually curious about what I have to say. And as soon as you do that, you immediately become more likable, you immediately become someone that's more trustworthy, and you leave that conversation or that interaction as someone that, oh, like, this is a guy that I will remember, this is a girl that I will remember, right? You have that very strong first impression. So once again, you listen, you comment, and then you ask. So in this case, for example, if Max is talking me, I will listen, I will comment, I'll say, Max, that's wonderful. Then I'll ask Max a question. Max, I'm just curious, what is your favorite coffee? Right? Or I will ask Max, oh Max, where is this coffee shop that you were talking about, right? I will ask them a question that makes them feel like I've been listening to them and that I care about what they are talking about, right? Now, this might not feel very comfortable to you when you're doing it for the first time. But once you do it and once you see the results that it has on the other person, you will immediately notice how powerful of a technique this is. This can be used in a professional setting. I use this in meetings all the time. When a client is telling me about their business, I'll listen intently, and then I'll make a comment. I'll be, yes, ma'am, I think that's a wonderful strategy that you've been using. I just have one small question. How long have you been implementing this strategy, and what sort of results have you seen with it, right? You listen, you comment, and then you ask them a question about what they just said. This shows to them that you've been listening, that you're attentive, and that you're actually interested in what they're talking about, right? You do this, you notice how powerful this is, you will be sold on this for life, right? I've used this technique in countless interactions, and I've always left leaving a great first impression. So these were the 3 things that if you start doing, you will leave a great first impression. There are, of course, a lot of other things as well. There's a lot of minute details that you need to pay attention to, but of course we can't discuss all of that in one video. So just to recap for you, first one is own your energy, number 2 is mirroring, and number 3 is listen, comment, and ask. Right? If you use these 3 techniques, you will immediately leave a much better, much stronger, lasting first impression, and people will start perceiving you in a different light. Once again, if you are interested in improving your communication, I teach all of this in my course, Communication Powerhouse, the link to which is in the description. It is on pre-sale right now, so grab it at a 50% discount while you still can. If you're enjoying this content, I keep putting more such stuff out, so subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like the video, leave a comment. I always enjoy listening to what you guys have to say, and I will see you again in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching till the end.